Hello and welcome to another episode of Middleborn Arms. Guys, I am so sorry this took a long time, but we are back at it. And as always, we're starting with a quick sketch to kind of show off what we're making today. And this is a sketch of King Theoden of Rohan holding up Herugrim. Your fingers might remember their old strength better if they grasped your sword. That's what Gandalf tells him in the movies, at least. And as I'm recording this, it's actually kind of a sad day because Bernard Hill, this incredible actor who really brought Theoden to life on screen, passed away this morning. And so I'd like to dedicate this video to him and to his talent, his memory, and everything he means to so many of us through the portrayal of the characters that he played. And this build started with this piece of bird's eye maple. Um, this video started in February of this year, so that's why I'm wearing pants, which I almost never do while I'm working because, safety first. You're working around power tools. If something flies around and hits you, do you really want to be wearing pants so it doesn't hurt you as badly? I don't think so. But yeah, bird's eye maple, it's a beautiful, gorgeous wood, and it is also um, really difficult to work with. And I did not know that when I started. So yeah, this ended up this this project was just it's full of new experiences. And that's one of the things about woodworking. I mean, we don't do it because it's easy. You do it because for the love of creation, for the love of the art. And even though I wouldn't necessarily call myself a woodworker, I'm more of a quasi woodsmith. My woodworking actually sucks. If you've seen a table that I have built, um, you'd want to call the table police. If Ron Swanson saw it, he would have a heart attack and probably go on a steak eating binge for 6 weeks. But anyway, I cut the shape out on the bandsaw, didn't film that for some reason. And here I planed it to the right thickness. This piece is a display piece, so it is significantly thinner than anything else that I have ever made. And actually, no, that's not true. I used to make some really, really thin ones for kids, and that was not my best idea. Anyway, here you'll start to see some of the problem with the bird's eye maple. These little dots are the bird's eyes. They are essentially little tiny knots, and they like to tear out and rip and shred and mess up your instruments. Here you can see I got that distal taper in where the blade gets thinner all the way to the tip. And yeah, I didn't shoot any of the hand fullering, which is ridiculous because that would have been fun to watch. It was also very difficult because the tools that I was using did not like any of the bird's eyes. And I had to deal with that, and then with the sanding, and eventually it came out looking really good. And I wish the camera could capture the chatoyancy and the figuring in this wood because it really came out beautifully. But this did not. This was my first attempt at the guard, and I got a slight misalignment in the laser etching, and then everything I did to try to fix it didn't work. And I got frustrated and disheartened, and after hours and hours of working on it, I quit. I went to other things. I made these wooden earrings, and I made a full short little animation in preparation for Dune Part 2. And it was also an ad for bookmarks. I went and saw Dune Part 2, and I took my custom hickory Chris knife that I've made and with a sheath made by a friend of mine, and I tested the strength of my sandals. They worked great. Made more bookmarks. By the way, this set's available. It's gorgeous. The eclipse happened, which was incredible. I made a lot more swords, and you've seen the builds for most of these if you watch my other videos. And in those videos, this blade, this beautiful bird's eye maple blade, just sat there, lonely, like Bobby Vinton. And the guard did too, right here. because I was afraid of uh, working and failing again. So eventually,
One eternity later.
I faced my fear and I started it again. And this process right here, this giving it this angle cost me so many issues down the road. And I guess I shouldn't say it caused me issues, but that I had to face a lot of obstacles that are caused by this shape being just the way it is. And it took a lot of patience and time to overcome, and I'm really grateful for my friend just being patient with me as it took so long to build this. And for the design, this was my first idea. Just laser etch it on there. What could that would solve all my problems? Except it didn't. As you can see, it charred and it got all this black and soot. And when I went to sand it, I accidentally sanded the entire design off, and that was really frustrating. And so I waited to figure out what to do, and I started making this custom sword mount out of this beautiful piece of live edge walnut. Again, this is not my area of expertise in woodworking. I am a sword guy. I am not a mount guy yet. But over this process, I learned a lot of things, and I was pretty happy with how it came out. And it gave me time to finally figure out how to get the design in the wood. And that is with this. So what this is, it is a base plate for the router that has little knobby thingies on it. And that allows you to have a lot of really good control with your router bit. And this comes from Make a Wood Sign. It worked excellent. The packet I got had engraving bits with it, and I was able to get a 16th of an inch down in there, and really, I mean, I was extremely happy with what I was able to do with this. It worked beautifully, and it it got me past. It solved this problem. And so I'm going to include a link in the description to Make a Wood Sign. Again, there's no affiliation with them. Yeah, the screen went darker because my motion detector light went off. Apparently, it doesn't detect small hand motions. Anyway, but yeah, no, I'm not affiliated with anybody. I just think that they make a really solid product, and you can see it there in the background. Here, I made a mistake. So I'm going to put this joint in, and I did it on both sides, but I never actually reached. I never got them to be in the middle, and I didn't clean out the joint to where it fit the sword tang, and that was my own fault for screwing that up. And then I went to my coping saw, and I thought that it would allow me to get really good cuts, but something about this maple, either it was too hard or too soft or too something, but that coping saw did not help me very much at all. And to get this off, I took it to my disc sander, and I'm a really smart person, so I put it on the wrong side of the disc sander, which is why you saw it popping up. You really want to be doing this kind of work on the side where it's going to pull your piece into the plate thing, base, whatever. This was actually fun because the piece is angled so much, and the angle is a little bit extreme. So I actually had to constantly be adjusting the base plate so that I would sand more or less evenly for the top and the bottom, and I wouldn't lose any of the design that I just spent so long etching. Every point of this process was nerve-wracking because you can lose 10 hours of work easy. But the big issue that I had was the part in the middle. This little heart-shaped thing that just... Okay. So, after breaking a bunch of tools and racking my brain on how to hog this middle part out, I settled on this. an 8 inch, what's that? An 8 inch router trim. I don't know what this kind of router bit is called, but anyway, it worked really, really well. And one, I was afraid that it wouldn't because I'd tried several things that had not worked. And if you can see here, the piece was moving a lot with the double-sided tape because there's not enough for it to grab onto. So I ended up making a little box out of other pieces of scrap wood and holding it together. But I had spent a lot of money on other pieces thinking that it would be, the solution that would fix it. But none of them worked until this one did. And so that was exciting. But what I said earlier about not actually making this joint correctly for the tang, going to be an issue. This is what it was. So I didn't have a flat reference point, and I needed my markings to be exact so that I am taking the right amount of material off of both sides so that I'm perfectly centered. And I didn't have the ability to do that anymore because I didn't have the corners with which to use my marking gauge. And so this was also just another one of those points where it could have been a failure, but it wasn't. The sword fit after a lot of work, and I got it. And then this part is just figuring out how to get this recess built in so that the sword will fit and slot right in that hole the right way. And I'm using tools in ways that I am certain God and man did not intend them to be used. But these are my tools now. I will use them however the heck I need to get the result. And that's really what you do. You can always, buy this special tool that'll be perfect, at least you think you can. But in the end, you got to figure out how to make do with what you've got, unless what you've got doesn't work at all. And here I was putting it on the wrong way. I have those funny little X's marked for a reason. And yeah, that slots in just perfect. It's a nice, tight fit. I mean, it's so tight that there's no movement, there's no wiggle, nothing. Beautiful. So I had this idea. As you can see, there's little dark marks around all the little detail pieces. And that's because of how deep I laser etched this piece. And the only way of getting those out was to lose more of that detail or this. And I ended up going with this. And what this is an ebony stain that I put in the recesses so that the detail would pop and those dark lines would essentially just disappear. And this is what it looks like in the end. And I was really, really happy with the result. I think it came out beautifully. And this maple is kind of like a golden, pinkish honey hue. And I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but it looks great. I have really enjoyed working with maple. Maple is now one of my favorite woods. It's not what I make swords that you're going to be sparring with out of, because I want you to have the hardness and durability of the hickory. But for display pieces like this, maple is stunning. And it just, yeah, I was super proud of this piece, especially after all the time I spent. And once that was done, I could finally move on to the other finished pieces. And here I actually filmed this entire clip in slow motion, the slow motion mode on my phone. Why? I don't know. I just did. Sue me or something, but please don't. I was attempting to get this slot all carved out, and I was thinking in my head that it would be perfect and I wouldn't have to do any extra work and it would all, come out just great. But it didn't. I still have no idea what I did wrong, but I'm sure somebody who knows what they're doing can look at it and tell me. And because of that, I had to scrape out a bunch of material to make sure that it fit correctly. And as always, it's a time-consuming process when you're doing things by hand. and when you're essentially learning a brand new technique. But here is where my woodworking skills really shine. All of you folks watching, if any of you are woodworkers, yeah, you're pretty jealous of my wood gluing skills and clamping. Because if you know what you're doing, then you know that my ability to squeeze out every single drop of wood glue in this glue up is unmatched. I mean, I have never seen anyone who could unglue a piece that they were gluing as well as I did here. I mean, I impressed myself. I'm notoriously bad at glue ups. And yeah, it's probably because I always overclamp. But eventually, I just epoxied it and, threw the wood glue to the wind and got it looking nice and square and went over to the shaping. I thought that using the spindle sander would be a surefire, super easy thing that would be done in a few minutes, and I'd have time to stop work and go get ice cream or something. But no. The spindle sander did not like the bloodwood. The bloodwood did not like the spindle sander. If they were a married couple, they'd be the couple that fights all the time and makes everyone miserable to be around them, because I was pretty darn miserable around this. Good grief. Finally, I just switched out to hand tools. Went to my trusty rasps, and heck, I even had to thin it out significantly more because I made it too thick. But the rasps worked, and eventually what I did with the spindle sander is that I used it to clean up the rasps marks. And my hand is still hurting from holding the sharp little barbs of the rasp, but it's okay. I think I'll survive and I'll heal. No, my wife says she likes how rough my hands get now because I'm working again. And here's the fit up. Everything fit beautifully. And this is a spacer that I made that I did not show the making of. And I was so happy. Oh my gosh. When you work and struggle, when it's finally starting to go your way, there is almost nothing better. I mean, it was a wonderful feeling. And I applied an epoxy for all this. Did not even bother with wood glue because there's really no way of clamping this down, and I would probably squeeze out the glue anyway. But yeah, you always want to wipe off the epoxy with a damp rag. That's what I did. Got rid of all of that extra excess so that it doesn't mess with the finish later on. And next, I go to the pommel. And I actually kind of made a mistake right here, which you can see. Did you see that? No, not here, not yet. This next part, I made a mistake. By the way, if you're a big fan of ginger freckled hands, then this is the camera shot for you. I've got a few of those sprinkled in here just for you weirdos, and I hope none of you exist. But again, just mortising this whole I don't really know what this is called, to be honest. But whatever this is just the standard process, trying to make sure it all fits. Because again, you want your wood to have a really tight fit in the hole that you make. So that you get as good a mechanical connection as possible. And usually takes a few tries once it really fits in there to get that perfect fit. But we get there eventually, and from there I go on to shape this pommel. I did forget to film how I got all the angles, and then remember that I had to round everything off. But hey, you get to see me use my Shinto rasps some more. And this tool is really, really good at hogging off the material in the right way and allowing me to have a lot of control over how it looks. And then what came the hand carving. And I thought y'all would really enjoy a shot of my apron It has a lot of nice, beautiful stains and colors and things on it. And you can't see anything that I'm doing. So, yeah, you're welcome. Just kidding. I got a better shot eventually once I realized what I was doing. But yeah, I was hand carving the rounded pommel with a one of my chisels. You're not necessarily supposed to use a chisel for this, I don't think, but it worked. And like I said, you use a tool that works as long as you can find a tool that works and make a tool work. Here, I tried using my carving knife and it just didn't quite give me the results I wanted, so I went back to the chisel. Kids, don't carve like this. I'm a not pro, but I've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing. But carve away from you, always. And look at that. It is a perfect fit, and it ties the whole thing together. Again, clean off that epoxy because you want to be able to have a nice finish. Sorry, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, we're applying the oil. I lose track. I mean, I lost track when I was making this. I'm not even going to speed this up. I'm going to let you guys enjoy it too. Well, actually, it's more for me, but there's nothing better than oiling wood. There's no better process. It's amazing. Okay, there are a few things that are better than oiling wood, but I don't want to talk about them here. This is not the forum for that. But you'll see here in a little bit, I actually left the carving marks on the end of this pommel. The reason for that is because I wanted to kind of have this handmade, almost hand-hammered look that you can get with carving. And I got that kind of a look in the guard as well, because in the guard, the parts that were stained, because I wasn't able to get a really good sanding in those spots without, risking breaking things, and I don't have any pieces of sandpaper that'll fit in there. Once it was finished, it has a matte look instead of the sheen that the rest of the guard does, and it looks again like it's almost cast. It's a really cool look that I'm happy I achieved because it's kind of what I was going for. But my gosh, will you look at that bloodwood on the handle? Not only is it smooth, but it is shiny. Perfect. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. I love it. And it's done. And here it is. The sword in all of its glory. Herugrim. And I promise you, if you hold this sword, your fingers will also remember their old strength better. And yeah, look at the figuring and the chatoyancy that you, not figuring, but the chatoyancy and all the colors and stuff that you get in this bird's eye maple. The camera barely even catches it. In real life, it's stunning. And that is the sword. That is the build of the most complex, most difficult thing I've ever made so far. I'm really grateful to my friend for commissioning me to make it and for being so patient with how long it took. I'm really happy with the results. I hope he'll be. And if you are like me and you noticed all of the problems and the little mistakes I made, congratulations, you're an anal artist. Or you're my wife. And here we are at the end of all things. But no, I appreciate you guys watching, and please like, subscribe, comment, tell me all the things I did wrong, or tell me what Bernard Hill's Theoden meant to you. I'd really appreciate that. Follow us on socials. All those will be in the description down below. And, we'll catch you on the flip side.